This is bucking. This is humping. Get used to it. There were no books. There were no films. There were no articles. There was nothing.
Can you go ahead and confirm what we're calling it and why we're calling it that?
This is not like information that I'm referencing. This is my firsthand, like in my chapter, my book, a lot of my references are me. They're the interviews that I did and that I have housed. We are HBCU Dance. We are the source. We are the salt.
Possibly you could just call it what you want to call it. Welcome to the Major Business Podcast, where we talk all things auxiliary dance from strategy, structure, leadership, performance, and training. And today I'm your host, Vershawn Lee, and we have a special guest for you today. I can't wait to introduce her. So let me just give you a few deets about her, and then we'll go ahead and bring her into the room. She's a seasoned dance educator, scholar, creative, and ethnochoreologist that has made the world her dance floor. Her love for culture, studies, journalism, and content creation have culminated into her two most prominent dance endeavors. The first being her dance studies company, Somewhere Dancing, and the latter being her contribution to the field of dance studies, the Black Sequence Project, a sparkling chronicle of HBCU dance, which we will be talking about today. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our guest, Miss LaQuinda Renee.
Hi, I'm in here. That was a good intro.
Was it?
It was.
All
It was
right. Well,
very well.
so first, I like to get right to it. I want you to go ahead
Okay.
and tell us, because we know that you're a historian for HBCU Dance, and I want you to go ahead and tell us how you qualify to be said thing. And then you must also tell us what an endochoreologist is.
Endo is not in that word.
It's not. I made that up.
It,
Ethno with an
it
ethno.
over.
You also must tell us what an ethno choreologist is.
Okay. So part one, dance studies. So there are many tracks. I mean, of course, you can be an independent scholar when it comes to dance studies. You can always pick something and start studying it. But to count yourself as a scholar, and not a person who is well researched, which would be the difference. Like a well researched person is getting information from a scholar. A scholar is actually going out and getting the information and compiling the information and sharing the information for public knowledge. It is information that is shared for specifically shared for discourse so that people can correct it, so that people can add to it. And the main point of it is not for yourself. Most scholars are not doing the thing for them or for their own recognition. It's literally because it's information that needs to be out or that is not out or that can be added to. In terms of qualifications for myself, anyway, I have a degree, a master's degree in ethnochoreology. And ethno is, like meaning cultural of different ethnicities, and then choreology is the study of dance. So I got that degree in somewhere between. It was a 2-year stretch somewhere in my life. It was like 2015. I think I left in 2015. I got back home in 2017. Um, then yeah, 2016 I got back home. I was still doing my research. But yes, that is kind of the thing. There are a lot of people who have dance anthropology degrees. That would be more so the American School of Dance Studies. Um, but I come from the European School of Dance Studies, and I come from the umbrella of ethnochoreology, which includes anthropology and a lot of other disciplines.
So, what did you do with your research? Because you educating us today. So, what did you do in terms of your research? Like, how did you get started with your dance project, the sequin project, all that good stuff?
Okay, so the project is now called the Black Sequence Project, branding, right? And I picked that name because it is like in the subtitle of the name, it is a sparkling chronicle. So sequence is a play on words because all dance teams have at least one black sequence number. or a sequence number, and they're Black teams. And so that was just a play on words, like it's a sparkling chronicle of this history. The project started as my thesis, as my master's thesis, and I started to do the research, and there was no research for me to do. There were no books, there were no films, there were no articles. There was nothing. Like I would see mention of it obscurely if they were talking about if there because there were books about HBCU marching band, and there were books about HBCU Divine Nine stepping culture and stuff like that. But in terms of this particular style, it didn't exist
Well,
in
now,
in
well,
writing.
let's be clear, because when you say there were no films, people assume there are plenty of videos on YouTube. Why? What do you mean? That's
Right.
yeah.
So
So
we're
why
talking
can't
about
you use
it.
those?
Right. Academically, like when you're talking about when it comes down to who gets money, who gets funding, who gets who gets to write the history, we didn't have any history. It was just something that was happening, and something that had been happening, as I found out while doing my research, since 1968. But up until that point, I there was nothing published that I could find. There was Prancing Elites had a show, and then who were the men who were doing J setting, and then the Dancing Dolls had a show, and that they named what they were doing Hip Hop Majorette. But I think both of those organizations chose those names because at the time there was no unifying umbrella name for this genre of dance. People just knew it was something we did. It's just what Black girls do when you put them in front of a band. Because at this point, it's old as hip hop. It's something that's just in our culture, so we think it's just normal.
Right.
So we just like, yeah, that's how we major it. That's how we drill team. That's how we whatever the names we call it, all the things. So I had to do a lot of firsthand research. Like I went to maybe 10 or 12 colleges, maybe more than that. I was doing research in the yearbooks. I was pulling up old archives. I was talking to founders of teams, first members of teams, like people who were there in the 70s. Um, I had a full meeting with the founders of the GGs, all Corn Golden Girls, and they got me together about my documentary because it was like, our school is not called Alcorn. I was saying Alcorn the entire documentary. It was like it is all corn state. So it was good. I got to talk to a lot of the older lines, and it's so funny because all of them still, before I really was solidifying the research and telling them too, they thought they were first. They all still feel like, well, we hadn't heard of them, so we didn't know nothing about what they was doing over there, or not. We didn't hear of them, but we didn't know what they was doing. Like they like this is the '60s. The only way you know what a band is doing is if you actually play the band, or if somebody goes to a practice and records it on like a 200-pound camera, and then brings the film. And like who can do all that? So all of them
Or
really were
if it when it was published, because they used to have like the magazines and stuff. So
right. It
something
was
was
something
published, then
published.
you saw it that way. But
But if
we
you
so
didn't
used
see
to
it in person,
YouTube, right? We so used to YouTube, we don't, most people that
right?
weren't in that era are not aware that all of this information was not readily available like it is now.
Yeah. So they all felt like, and I think, and also just because of the research I'm doing and the mentors I have met, like Dr. Thomas DeFrance, who is one of the leading scholars on Black dance histories in the world. He mentored me through being a contributing author to his latest handbook on Black dance studies, Oxford Handbook on Black Dance Studies, which is a resource book. Essentially, it's mostly going to be found in libraries or used as college text, a college textbook. He helped me to situate myself in the thought process of like, okay, what was happening in 1968? What was actually happening at that time for all these teams to feel like they had independently started to spring up and do this thing all around the same time. And so once you get into that mindset and situate yourself in that time period, understand the generation we're talking about the generation who changed the world as college students. Like they organized and hosted the sit-ins, and really the older people were just funding them and helping organize a lot of times too. But it was that generation of college students, HBCU students in particular, that made it where Black people had to get their full rights in this country, which opened the doors for other people of color to be able to move into this country. So they were a world, like a world, literal world changing generation. And 1968 was a tumultuous time. You had all these government sanctioned assassinations happening. They were killing leaders who were on the side of equality. So a lot of these people were done with what we call today or respectability politics, the idea of like, come to the protest in a suit, speak the most proper English that you can, like assimilate as much as you can, show these people that we are not, you know, whatever stereotypes they had about Black people. And by that time, after Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, in April of 1968, then you had actual college students being killed on HBCU campuses in 1968 as well. You had the Orangeburg Massacre in 1968. You had Jackson State, a shooting happened on Jackson State's campus where police or state troopers killed students on campus. Um, the Black youth were tired of the respectability politics. They're like, we're not going to keep assimilating to white culture like that's going to make them respect us. We're going to be Black. We're going to be real Black, and we're going to be real Black in your face. And that is where the civil rights movement around that time switched to the Black Power movement, the Black is Beautiful movement. So all of that was happening then. So it just made sense that all these things were in the mindset of like, girl, we're going to go out there in our afro. We're not going to go out there and, do these marches with baton. We're going to go out there and do the Watusi on the field.
Not the
We're gonna go out there.
Watusi.
We're gonna go out there and do the mashed potatoes on the field. Like this is what they were doing. They told me the list of dances they was doing and how shocked the crowd was because like Black people knew.
But they told
And
you
Black,
this is what they were doing on the field?
yes, they told me the list of stuff they were doing. It was like we did the four corners, we did the Watusi, we did the mashed potato, we was doing the shimmy and the shake, and I was like, oh, so y'all was breaking it down out there. They said people were like, the older generation who were still of the civil rights respectability policy, they were again, they were, y'all gonna dance like that in public?
Okay, so why HBCU Dance though? So you went to school to do this project, but what made you choose HBCU Dance in particular to study?
So I really didn't go to school to do the project. I went to school to be able to study any style of dance. And that's why I have my company, Somewhere Dancing, is a cultural education through dance company. So that's what I was qualifying myself for, which is what, my social media and my after school programs and stuff like that focus on, just introducing people to the world through dance. But I end up studying HBCU dance, which is like a side quest that has never ended. And
Here we are
became very,
today.
here we are today. um, my program director, her name is Dr. Catherine Foley. She is one of the foremost experts on Irish dance in the world. She wrote or is referenced on most academic things that people reference when they want to say they know about Irish dance. She had a rule that she didn't want this she had a shelf of all the theses of all her students, and she was like, I don't want anything on my shelf of the same subject. So when I came, and she was asking me like, well, let me go back. The European School of Anthropology and Studies or social studies is that you study your own culture versus the American school is more so you pick a different culture to study. Like you pick someone else's culture and you study theirs. So their European school is like you need to become an inside outside perspective of your own culture. Like you have to step out of your own culture and study it unbiasedly. So I was picking all these things because like I'm like Black culture. Okay, I know liturgical dance in the Black church. That's Black culture. Like we can trace that back. That's old. We can connected to African roots and Native American roots and all these things, Indigenous American roots. And she was like, I already have it on my shelf. Somebody already wrote something about that. And I'm like, okay. So then I was like, okay, what about stepping? Like that's a thing. Like that's very cultural. There's like groups out that, it was already a thing. It was a lot of research about stepping. So I know that's considered a cultural Black, like in what do they call it? They call it intangible cultural heritage of a people. I'm like, I know that's that. So she was like, yeah, I already had somebody do that paper like last year or the year before last. I don't want anything else about steps. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, what else have I done dance wise where I could study? So then I was like, what about when I dance for the band? So we used to have our meetings and you have to have a PowerPoint ready, a PowerPoint presentation to present. Like, okay, this is what I'm thinking about studying. This is why. This is the subject. This is the audit. So I remember specifically having this meeting with her. They were one-on-one meetings. And she was just like shocked. She was flabbergasted. She was like, what is this? And so I'm like, it don't really have a name. We had, we called ours the dance line, I guess. I'm like, we were on the dance line. Like, it's just like the drum line. We call it dance line. I'm like, other people call it like Majorette. Some people call it drill team. Some people call it the dancing girls. Like, people call it other different stuff. And she was so shocked by it. Like, she never been shocked by anything else. And she was just like, these are college women dancing this sexually, and this is in public, and this is at a family event. And then she was like, okay, why is everybody Black? Like, where is this in America where everybody's Black? And I'm like, these are HBCUs. And she's like, well, why did Black people resegregate school? Like, why did y'all create Black schools? I'm like, we didn't do nothing. Well, we did. Some of us did. But I'm like, we weren't allowed to go to school with white people. These schools were created because white people did not want Black people in school with them. And she was like, what? And I'm like, and this lady is, again, very smart, very culturally aware. So I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. And then when I went to the library to try to do it and there was nothing, I was like, okay, this is definitely what I have to do, because I had to start. I thought I was going to start my project from, this is a marching band HBCU. This is the section of the band. I had to start my project at, this is an HBCU. This is why HBCUs exist. Then trickle down from there. I had to like start from the top of the project because nobody knew what I was talking about. In
True,
my
true.
class, everybody was looking like, even the Americans.
What? The Americans? Well,
I was only,
you're right.
I was only
You're right.
Black.
You're
I was
right.
the
I
only
just
Black.
thought about that because last year I was at a school teaching. They wanted Majorette in their show and I went to teach it, but of course I started with, this is not that. This is what HBCU dance is. And they were like, HBCU? Yeah.
No idea.
And we did have to start from the beginning. It's crazy to think about it because we don't have to think
Because
about
we went.
it. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
people do not know about this. People don't know. People do not be knowing about HBCUs. We are so steeped in it. Like, when I talk, I have the same experience with my students. I teach middle school. I've taught high school. I've taught college. Everybody wants to be a majorette, right? No baton in sight, but they want to be a majorette and have no clue. Like, your team is doing, that is the sting at walk. Your captain, your coach didn't make that up. The sting has been doing that for a long time. They didn't make that up. These kids do not know this stuff. They have no idea. They be seeing the videos like, oh, we do that. I'm like, yes,
She got it
yes,
from
you do.
them.
He
Yeah.
got it from them. They're like, oh, I know that. I bet you do. This is
That's
the source.
crazy. So now that you've gotten your project, well, you started your research and it was sponsored by your research
Oh, right.
initially.
Right. I didn't get into that. So I was in Ireland. Okay. So it was expensive trying to go back and forth to America to do research. So I applied for a grant with National Geographic to it's called a young it was called a young they've discontinued it. It was called the Youngest Floors Grant, and they would help fund projects that you proposed, and you would get up to $5,000, and you just had to tell them how it was a part of National Geographic's mission, which is like you're either studying the environment, you're studying animals, you're studying climate change, or you're studying people and history and cultures of the world. So how I presented the project, I presented it as HBCU dance being a Southern Black intangible cultural heritage that is old as hip hop, but not well documented in terms of academically well documented. It's very well documented, but it's not well known still, which is the crazy part. So they gave me the grant. I got the grant. I'm like, what? And by the time I got the grant or notified I had the grant, I had already turned my thesis in because my proposal was um to submit a DVD. Telling my age. I was going to submit a DVD with my thesis or like a thumb drive. I'm not, yeah, a thumb drive probably. So I was going to submit a thumb drive with visuals so that the people who are reading my thesis, which all of them are Irish, it's an Irish board that decides whether or not your research is cleared for you to get your degree. They needed to have a visual. But by the time they gave me the money, I'm like, oh, I already turned everything in. I've done it all. I end up just turning in a PowerPoint, but I still had to turn in a documentary to National Geographic because that's what I proposed. I proposed to have a visual supplement to my thesis to help like visually explain what it is my paper was. It was like a visual version of my paper. But Nat Geo's still like, well, the money has hit your account.
Get to work.
You have a year and a half. Yeah. It don't matter what, we still need that documentary. And so from there, I did a documentary. And in the process of doing a documentary, I was like, how do I want to present this? Like, do I want this to just be like, we go to a movie theater and we just watch it? And I was like, you know what? We should do an exhibit. The documentary should live in an exhibit. It should be a stop as you go around and look at, old costumes and uniforms, look at team facts and all that stuff. And then you stop at some point and you watch the documentary. So that's how the exhibit happened. It was just to make the documentary, like to make it more of an experiential experience versus like just watching it. It's like you can interact with it. Interactive experience. I mean,
So you
you
got it
got to tell.
done in a year and a half, and
Yes,
then you chose certain people to interview to be a part of this. You went around and filmed these different all the things in your documentary. You went and filmed yourself. You didn't pull clips
yes.
from YouTube.
No, I didn't pull anyone. This is firsthand research. Okay, this is not. Um, this is not like information that I'm referencing. This is my firsthand. Like in my chapter, my book, a lot of my references are me. They're the interviews that I did and that I have housed. So, like, if people who don't know who are watching, Vershawn is in the documentary. So I had to pull up on Vershawn at her job with my camera and had to set it up. And we set our chairs up and we
I
had
told
like them
told my
interviews.
kids, y'all be quiet.
Yep.
Mhm.
And them interviews was long. At the time, I didn't know what I was like. I was making like a research film, so I was trying to get all the information. I had like 50 questions I was asking people. Insane. Looking back on that, complete insanity. We sitting there doing like a 2-hour interview, making the editing process just insane.
Ooh, right. Right.
Having to go through like 10, 15, 10 hour, like 2-hour interviews was. I learned so much in the process. But yes, I pulled up on several people. Like I had a J set. Rashawn was our Champagne and Morris Brown representation. I pulled up on my captain when I came into South Carolina State, which was Simone. She was our Champagne representation. I pulled up on one of the Golden Delight dancers. We had someone else from Morris Brown, like original line member. We went to the Stingettes. We had Jackson State representation. And a lot of the interviews and stuff like that ended up falling through, or it was just like things. The main thing, to be honest, because I was doing it from when you're a researcher, you have to get IRB clearance from any institution that you're researching. So it's that there are institutional research boards at every university. So if you come in and you say I'm doing research at your university, their university has to see that you have institutional research clearance from your institution of research, and then they decide whether or not they're going to clear you to come to the university. So I
Oh,
was getting the IRB clearance at all the HBCUs, but then when I would get in contact with the actual band directors and stuff, it would just be like, okay, I'm just gonna talk to the alumni. I'm not even gonna try to get on this campus and talk to y'all, because at the time it was just so people were just so taken aback or just suspicious. They were suspicious that I wanted to talk to the dancers, and just like, oh, so where's this gonna go? Is this gonna paint this in a negative light? I'm like, why would this be painting y'all in a negative light? Like, what is
this
going
this
on
why
here?
we can't have no history. Everybody's so suspicious. Don't know
Everybody's
nothing.
so suspicious. I'm like, this. I said, look, this is going to be a project. This how will get people. Like, I had to force my. I was working at Savannah State at the time. I was like a year out of graduate, maybe like 6 months after I got back from Ireland. I got hired at Savannah State to be a professor there, and I had to like convince them to be a part of the project. I'm like, listen, when the history come out and your page is blank, that's fine with me. Your page is going to say Savannah State declined to be a part of this project. That's all it's going to say. So, what are y'all
Okay,
trying to
so
do?
speaking of that then, so I know that you're going to continue this research and you're getting people to, getting more people to sign on to do
Yes.
what? What is your next part to this research?
Okay. So now we're moving toward most of my stuff you only can see if I bring it somewhere. Now we're moving toward public publications, like publicly available parts of the research versus like having to come to an exhibit or come to a film screening. We're working on an archive site which will house all the HBCU dance, at least for now, like at least just each team will have a page, because if you Google right now, a lot of these teams, they might have an old audition sign up PDF on their band website. That's as much as you're gonna get to know about them. You go to their band website or their school website, and that's it. You click on their page, and it'll say audition here, and it'll be like an audition paper from like 2021. So I'm like, this stuff is not, the information still isn't available even after all these years. It's almost 10 or 12 years at this point. So
Right.
the next project is to just get an archive site that, you know, everything is there. It's academically sound. It has been academically sourced from firsthand accounts. And to get there, the first step to that is to get a research board together. So I do want to let everybody know the call for a research board will be out on the HBCU Dance History page. You can click the link in our bio and you can go down to sign up to be a part of the research board. You just need to have like an hour a week to be a part of the research board. And each week we'll have one team that we're focusing on, finding all the information about that one team. So we with 3 or 4 minds working together, and people assign specific things they need to have for that team, we can get this done very quickly. Um, very quickly,
So do you
and
have
then
any screenings or workshops or anything like that coming up for people to be able to
yes,
support
date.
as you're in the process of all of this research and everything and continuing your
Yes,
research?
I do have dates here. So, screenings that are coming up. The big screening that is coming up in Atlanta is going to be on May 26th. I put it in the middle of the week, like on a Tuesday, because people have things. This is graduation season, prom season, all this stuff. So I'm like, a Tuesday evening will be a good chill day where people mostly don't have anything going on. So May 26th will be the screening and exhibit. We're also going to have a Mommy and Me Major Moves workshop. So that'll be one of the workshops I'm offering. I did get a grant from the city of Atlanta this year, from the Office of Cultural Affairs, and they are sponsoring me to do 4 workshops in the city of Atlanta, uh, as well as expose people to the research so that people know what this style is and not keep calling it, not even just calling it, but just not being knowledgeable of the source of the, where this is from. And those are one of the workshops. So we have May 9th is a mommy and me, all ages, all generations, a workshop to come, learn some HBCU dance. We're gonna have some good workshop teachers and clinicians. So that will be out as a flyer. The screening is May 26th. I do have a workshop on International Dance Day as well, which is April 29th, and that's
Okay.
a Wednesday.
Okay.
So right now on the calendar, there's 2 workshops in the screening and exhibit. The other 2 workshops will be private workshops that I'll be doing with Atlanta Public Schools, in partnership with Atlanta Public Schools, and one in partnership with KIPP Atlanta Schools. So those won't be for the public, but they all are free. The tickets will be available by the end of this week. The tickets are free. You still do need to RSVP, but the thing about it is, if you want to get the book ticket, if you pay your $25 for the book ticket, your entry will come with a signed book, which Vershawn and I are in together, called the
And we
HBCU
are.
Experience Dance Edition. We're in the second edition, which is at a book signing like a few
Yeah.
days ago.
One Sunday.
So yes, if you want to come, the workshops are free. If you like to donate and help for the project, there is a $25 ticket, which will come with a book.
Okay, so very quickly before we go, let's
Mhm.
because there was so much talk. Because now that we know how the history has come about, that there was no history, you had to create the history from scratch. Well, not create the history, but you had to gather it and publish it from scratch. Because it
Curated.
wasn't much. Yeah, you curate it basically, exactly. So now that we're aware that that's what you have gathered, this there has been a lot of controversy around the Majorette versus HBCU Dance and what we're going to call it. So can you go ahead and confirm what we're calling it and why we're calling it that, and who should we listen to? Because we don't know.
Okay. So here's the thing. Anytime you're talking about intangible cultural heritage, or the the artistic contributions of a people, you should listen to the people that are making the contributions, right? The source. So the source of this style are HBCU dance lines, which are the auxiliary dance section of HBCU marching bands. So people who are doing that, have been doing that, come from that, right? Have been supporting that. Most of those people are in consensus. I would say about 95% of those people who everything else that is a shoot off of that, whether it's majorette battles, gym cultures, or J setting and all those things, everything is an offshoot of the source. The source is asking that they be called HBCU dance or HBCU dance line. Why? Because it is very common in Black American culture for our creative and artistic endeavors and creations to be historically whitewashed or historically separated from us, to be commercialized so
Hmm.
people can make money on it, right? So um, now when people think of jazz, they think of, what's that man named Kenny G, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jazz today, people think of non-black people for the most part. When you think of jazz dance, it is highly represented by non-black bodies. When you think of hip hop today and how it has expanded out into an international phenomenon, and the b-boying and the K-pop and all the things that are pulling from these cultures, they will tell you very quickly, this is American culture, and we are allowed to participate in it, which everyone is allowed to participate in things, but you still need to give credence and credit where it's due. The same way we know Irish traditional step dance is Irish traditional step dance. The same way we know the Argentine tango is the Argentine tango, right? The same way we know these things, English country style dancing is from England. You want to continue to keep the origin, the people of origin, the place of origin connected to the genre if you want to keep it academically sound and keep the academic credit given to the people that it's due to. Because Majorette is most certainly a European and American tradition. So keep continue to tie it under that umbrella is is diminishing the fact that people were making conscious decisions at that time to step away from that. Like Southern Dolls, even though they were not the first team to perform dance line or to perform without a baton, they had a old majorette line called the Southern Bells for decades, probably at that point. And because of that time in history where Black youth were saying, I am Black and I am proud, Black is beautiful, we cannot continue to play respectability politics. We cannot continue to think, if we dress up and if we speak proper enough, that these people are going to treat us any different than what they see us as, which is our skin color first. This is a time period where people are like, yeah, no, we done with that. This is an afro. Get used to it. This is what they call the black bottom or the shimmy or twerking, whatever you want to call it. This is bucking. This is humping. Get used to it, right? This was a conscientious decision of people delving deeper into their blackness in very public places and spaces. So to continue to call it something where that they were trying to distance themselves from um minimizes their contribution, and it also gives for me it gives a sense of, most of the time when I people see people who know better and who come from actual HBCU dance lines still calling it majorette, it's I don't think most of it is tied to monetary gain to me, because you're calling it that because that's what the people you're marketing to know it as.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're not worried about the historical or academic or cultural integrity. You're worried about making a buck right now. And even when I have to call it majorette, it's solely based on marketing to
yeah,
make sure that you know when I say this word, you know what I'm talking about, right? Even if I'm not making money, I have to come in saying majorette before I
yeah.
explain to them that it's HBCU dance line, right?
To
So
get them to pay attention, yeah, you have to start with
yeah,
that, unfortunately, in
you
order
do.
to gain, their attention, and then introduce it in a different way. But then it doesn't help with others continue to do the same thing, because now that's just, if you walk into a
It's a
Spanish
negative
class
cycle.
and then in Spanish they're speaking English, then how do I now learn Spanish?
How do I now learn Spanish, right?
Yeah.
So I understand it. I understand why people still have to say it, because if you do want to come in and teach people that it is HBCU dance, and you want to have a successful workshop, and you want to have successful consultations and stuff like that, depending on where you are in the country, you're gonna have to say majorette somewhere on that flyer or somewhere. You're gonna have to say it. But as long as you are also on board with doing the education on the back end. Like, now
Mhm.
that I have your attention,
Right, right.
now that I have you in the room, there's something we need to clear up. I know this flyer says majorette because I need you to get here. This is not that though. As long as I feel like you need to make an effort to make that conversation, because you are not doing majorette. You are doing what HBCU dance lines do and have created. That is what you're doing. So,
Yeah, I think for some people that are gung ho, this is what it is, are like that because that's what it has been since they were young, right? So that's all
right.
they ever knew it to be. So now why do we got to change it? So I think that's probably the most upsetting part about it. I don't understand now why we have to change it. And I think you explaining the context, have given the culture context as to why it needs to change, and also in terms of history and documentation of the history. I think now people they will probably still call it that, because as that's something I've been calling it for, since I was a baby. That's what I'm going to keep calling it. And in cities, say like Mississippi, that's what
Mississippi.
it yeah, that's what it has been. So for them, it's not going to stop, but I do feel like there needs to be a source of education to say, hey, when we're doing this, we do need to reference it this way. But
Right.
as long as they know that it could have dual meaning, right?
It can
So
have no meaning.
as long as they know that it has dual meaning, but that this also is called something else. So while Majorette has a dual meaning, this movement has dual meaning. So
Right.
or dual names. And so as long as
Right.
I think the educational piece is there, then I mean possibly you could just call it what you want to call it. But I
Right.
just feel like, don't give the pushback if you're just giving pushback just to give it. Just be understanding. And I feel like you've explained it so well that now it should
Right.
be understood as to why, like we should be more accepting at this point. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Yes.
Miss LaQuinda Renee. Everybody make sure they go and follow HBCU Dance History. Can you give us any last words you have, or any support that you want to garner from the audience? I know you gave us your dates, and I'm going to make sure I place them on the screen for everyone to be able to make sure they can be present if they can. And hopefully they'll be, for people that are out of town or out of state, there'll be some virtual options for people who want to support. But
Mm.
mm-hmm,
You
any
ain't
last
messing with me.
words you want to give
Um,
our audience?
my yes, my last words is not. I don't even want it to be a Majorette versus HBCU Dance thing. It's not, because there's no fighting momentum, right? It all the focus of people who are in it for the cultural integrity and the cultural longevity, and understanding the importance of having academic foundation, so for people to build on and for people to get funding on, and things that are not documented, they're not considered serious in a lot of spaces, right? Even though this dance style is one of, I would say you could put HBCU dance up against any dance style, to be serious, to be honest. If you are well trained HBCU dance, baby, you can move through a
It
lot of
embodies a
a
lot of
lot.
styles. Yeah.
If you can get very well trained HBCU dance, you can crisscross many genres
Mm-hmm.
without a sweat. Like you're well versed just off of doing that.
Right.
So it's understanding that that should be recognized. It's understanding that
The
um
versatility
the
of
versatility
HBCU
of it.
dance should be
It's
recognized.
understanding I should be able to put that on my resume, as that is my genre. That is what I'm a master in. That is what I'm most trained in. Because when you're trying to apply for a dance job, right, or you're trying to do something dance based, and you're telling these people my experience is Majorette, and in their head, because as we have been explaining to you, people outside of HBCU culture are not completely aware of it. They're
Right.
like, why would I hire a baton twirler? What you about to do for us, right? They not understanding. You're saying I am one of the most versatile dancers on the planet, period. I've dabbled in all the things and performed all the things and done it well. They're not connecting those dots when you say Majorette all the time. And you have been performing professionally and in public for a long time and competing in things. So I feel like the key is not to tear down or to change people's minds. It's the understanding that if this is the momentum of this side, our momentum have to get here, right? Or it has to even out. But the people who want to be on the side of history of the teams that they are borrowing from and that they have built their brands on, they will come over to that side. And those who don't, you just have to understand that it's our job as the culture keepers and as the historians. I love that the unity is happening now, that people are understanding like staying siloed and competing against each other is how this has been allowed to happen. So now that everyone's unifying and understanding like we are HBCU dance. We are the source. We are the sauce. We are where these people are able to pull from and glean from. Whether they're telling their kids or their clients or the people that they are teaching where they're getting it from or not. They know where they're getting it from. They know what
Right.
videos they watch. Be on the side of the people that you are referencing. So, but even if they aren't, the people who are on the side of understanding, like, this is a genre, and for us to be recognized as genre, we have to build it up at the same rate as other genres. That's what our work has to be. It's not changing anybody's mind. That's not the work. The work is
Mm.
doing the work.
The work is doing the work.
The work
Mm.
is doing the work. It ain't no changing no minds. That's not the business that I'm in. I just want to get information, and based on the information, I think it's very clear. Like, if I'm going to model my entire team off the Stingettes, but never tell my team about the Stingettes, little
Yeah.
fishy,
Yeah.
little weird to me. It's a little, it's a little appropriator. It's not. It's giving all skin folk and kinfolk.
Well,
Because
I
why?
mean, because they do it in all the genres though. I recall too many times teaching pivot turns and saying, "Hey guys, the pivot turn is not the arms. The pivot turn is the feet." Because they are married to the arm that the teacher taught them, right? So I'm going to do this arm every time I do this step, not understanding these are separate ideas. I said we're doing a pivot turn. I didn't say what the arm was doing. Can you do that arm? Yes, but that is not the pivot turn. So I think that's culture that we don't tell. And I also think we don't tell because
Because we
we
don't know.
are we don't know. Yeah, we don't
A
know.
lot of us don't know.
And that's a whole other topic. But we don't know. And so that's why we aren't telling. And I in my teaching years, I spent a lot of time in high school explaining while teaching high school, explaining that these are the things, not that can be, that's also true. Two things can be true. If we're
Two
doing ballet,
things.
if we're doing ballet, then I must tell you the style of ballet. I can't just tell you we're doing ballet because now when you go somewhere else and they do it differently, if first position is here, but then first position is here, now you mad with somebody because the first position ain't the same. When
And
really
you big
they
mad.
never told you that you were doing this style of ballet and now you're doing something different. So
And you're big mad at somebody, and you're loud and wrong in the class. That's not what
loud
that
and
is.
wrong. Loud and wrong. So yes, all the things can be true, but we just need to be educated about what we're doing so that we can definitely be sharing. Yes.
Key word. Educated. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm. I take notes, guys, so I'm looking down at my phone. Just so we're all aware, I take notes.
I'm
So
on the
yes, I
same
love
page.
a lot of keywords of things that you have said. I have written down myself because I learned
Mhm.
myself some things today. So I really appreciate you for coming by. And yeah.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for always being one of the first supporters of the Black Sequence Project. Vershawn is my big sister from South Carolina State, Champaign. Anytime I need anything from her, I can call on her. And I think that's also something that we cannot gatekeep is the sisterhood that these organizations build. It's
Mhm.
harder to be on an HBCU dance line than it is to pledge a D9 sorority.
Let's talk
They only
about it.
let
Mhm.
they only let 4 or 5 girls in a year on this side. You gotta have the talent and everything you had to have over there, right? So we can't gatekeep this. It's very powerful and it's very needed, and we need to expose our babies as early as possible, especially in these days, to HBCU culture, to the camaraderie, to the familial bonds that we build in those spaces. So I want to tell you again, I appreciate you so much. She was in my documentary. She put me in contact with the people. She'll give me the list of the places I need to be. She listen.
And I'm gonna be her manager. I'm her future manager too.
She
So
got to
guys,
manage me, y'all.
so
'Cause
guys, when you pull up and I'm there and I'm working, I'm the manager.
matter of fact, get her contact information. Get her booking information. Contact Rashawn. if you're trying to get in touch with me. That's how we moving from here.
Exactly. That's how we move it because it's so key for everybody to know this. We got to get this in everybody's hands. And y'all gonna help us. Y'all are gonna help us spread the word. Please make sure you share this information. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I want to say thank you to our guest, Miss LaQuinda Renee. She was awesome, really gave us a lot of great educational tips. She is the founder and lead researcher for the Black Sequin Project. And I hope you guys continue to, I'm going to also, like I said before, pop those dates up and to make sure you can support. But anyway, if you go to the website, you want to join, just make sure you keep following us at Choreo You Dance on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube. It's Choreo You Dance. And you can also find us on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Choreo You Dance. And the podcast is Major Business Pod. And so thank you all again for watching. And I really appreciate it. See y'all next episode. And go catch up. Go back and catch up.